Ancient Sparta, just the name conjures images of fearless warriors, grueling training, and unmatched resilience. But beneath the heroic tales lies a society with practices so harsh they may be scarcely discussed in the popular retellings of Spartan glory. Today, we re-diving into the darkest corners of Spartan life, from brutal rituals to chilling social customs that reveal the true cost of their legendary strength. This Ancient Sparta, the Sparta of Hollywood. It's far more intense, more unsettling, and incredibly real if you're ready to uncover the shocking truths that history books often overlook. Stay with us. Each fact brings us closer to understanding the full picture of this iconic, yet deeply complex civilization. Spartan life was harsh from the very start, and this brutality began as soon as a child took its first breath. Unlike most other Greek states where family bonds and individual lives were cherished, Sparta placed little value on the lives of newborns, unless they met specific criteria known as or exposure. The infamous practice of infanticide was a sanctioned tradition that involved casting infants, deemed weak, deformed, or otherwise imperfect, out into the Taygetus Mountains to die from exposure. According to Plutarch, a child would be brought before the Council of Elders, where his worthiness was assessed based solely on his physical strength and vitality. This was a practice that sought to eliminate any individual unable to meet the demanding requirements of Spartan life, a life dedicated entirely to military success. If the elders decided a child wasn't robust enough, it would be left to die in the wilderness, where survival was impossible for those who passed this brutal initiation. However, there was no guarantee of a better life, just the beginning of more challenges ahead. This practice of state-sanctioned infanticide was intended to maintain a population of physically capable, combat-ready individuals who could shoulder the weight of the Spartan military machine. Other Greek states viewed this practice with a mixture of horror and awe, for it represented both a shocking lack of empathy and a total commitment to martial superiority. The road to Spartan adulthood was laden with pain, humiliation, and terror, and it began at the tender age of 7, when Spartan boys were removed from their families to enter the agoge state-controlled education and training system. This was no ordinary schooling. Rather, it was a relentless conditioning process designed to strip away any traces of softness or individualism and replace them with unwavering loyalty and physical endurance. Every boy underwent a strict regimen of discipline, training, and deprivation, from being given insufficient food to forcing them to steal to survive. The agoge left these boys no choice but to endure or fail. But the ultimate test of Spartan mettle was the Krypteia, a terrifying, often lethal initiation ritual that young men faced toward the end of their training. Sent into the wilderness alone and armed only with a knife, each boy was tasked with surviving while stalking and killing helots, the state-owned slaves who served the Spartan elite. This ritual wasn't merely a test of survival skills. It was a trial designed to desensitize them to violence and instill fear among the enslaved population. As philosopher Plato noted, the Krypteia was an exercise meant to sharpen the minds and bodies of the young Spartans, who were instructed to practice stealth strength and kill without hesitation. Those who completed the Krypteia returned hardened, conditioned for the life of a warrior, while those who didn't were simply erased from Spartan memory. It was through such brutal training that the Spartans crafted a warrior elite unlike any other men, who had been stripped of personal weakness and molded into tools of war. Sparta's disdain for weakness extended into all aspects of life, and those deemed unworthy faced public shame and scorn. Spartans were famously unforgiving toward individuals who showed signs of cowardice, viewing any such behavior as a threat to the state's survival. A soldier who returned from battle without his shield was seen as disgraceful, as it symbolized a lack of commitment to the group. The famous phrase, "either with your shield or on it," captures the Spartan mother's role in instilling this fierce sense of duty. Those deemed cowards were ostracized and often barred from social functions, left to live a life devoid of honor. Even the elderly were respected only as long as they displayed the resilience and fortitude expected of all. Spartans, by scorning the weak Sparta, created an atmosphere where only the strongest could thrive, while anyone who fell short of their exacting standards was rejected. In Sparta, marriage was less about romance and personal choice than it was about producing strong offspring and supporting the state's interests, unlike other Greek city-states, where monogamy was the standard. Sparta endorsed a practice known as polyandry, or the sharing of wives among multiple men. This unusual arrangement, which shocked other Greeks, was designed to ensure that Sparta produced a steady stream of physically and mentally strong children, regardless of conventional family dynamics. Historian Xenophon noted that in Spartan society measures were taken to ensure the vitality and strength of their population. This included encouraging men to father children with other men's wives, if it was believed to benefit the state, reflecting the communal and pragmatic approach to marriage and procreation. Women in Sparta were expected to be strong and physically fit to bear children who could become warriors. However, this freedom came at the price of deep personal sacrifices, as their primary role was to bear and raise future soldiers rather than cultivate family life in the traditional sense. Polyandry wasn't about affection or choice, but about fulfilling a social responsibility to keep Sparta's population strong. Another deeply unsettling aspect of Spartan society was the practice of pederasty, which was institutionalized within the agoge training system. This was where adult male warriors, highly respected within Spartan society, formed intimate bonds with young boys undergoing their military training. These relationships were viewed not through the lens of modern morality, but as rites of passage meant to foster loyalty and strengthen bonds among soldiers. These male mentors were tasked with guiding the boys through their rigorous training, and often these relationships went beyond mentorship, extending to emotional and physical intimacy. The practice was deeply embedded within Spartan culture, believed essential for creating unwavering loyalty, emotional connection, and comradeship on the battlefield. While this may seem shocking and morally troubling today, in ancient Sparta, this was considered an important facet of their warrior society, ensuring that future Spartans would fight with an unbreakable bond and trust in each other. While the Spartans focused on their elite warrior class, their society was built upon the subjugation and oppression of the Helots. These slaves, primarily from the conquered region of Messenia, were forced to work the land to support the Spartan lifestyle. The Helots formed the backbone of Spartan agriculture, providing food and supplies for the military, while the Spartans dedicated themselves entirely to training for war. Unlike slaves in other Greek city-states, who might serve in homes or businesses, helots were collectively owned by the state and subject to brutal treatment. They lived under constant fear, knowing that any act of defiance could lead to public execution or torture. The Helots were a constant reminder of Spartan superiority, and their subjugation was essential for maintaining the Spartan way of life. This system allowed the Spartans to focus on their military strength, without concern for the day-to-day survival needs of society. In order to maintain their military supremacy, the Spartans instilled a fierce sense of duty in every aspect of life. From childhood, Spartans were conditioned to endure pain, humiliation, and fear. The journey to becoming a warrior was brutal from the moment a Spartan boy turned 7. He was removed from his family and placed in the agoge, a state-run education and training system. The agoge was designed to break down any softness or individualism and replace it with relentless loyalty to the state. These boys were subjected to a strict regimen of harsh discipline, constant deprivation, and physical tests designed to push them to their limits. They were given little food and forced to steal to survive. If they were caught stealing, the punishment was severe. The point of this brutal upbringing was not just to train warriors, but to shape them into tools of war, ready to serve the needs of Sparta. Only the strongest survived the agoge, and those who didn't were discarded. The ultimate test for a Spartan boy was the Cryptia, a terrifying initiation ritual that took place near the end of their training. The Cryptia was a test of survival, but it was also an exercise in cruelty and fear. young men were sent into the wilderness alone, armed with nothing but a knife. They had to survive in isolation, hunting and killing helots, the enslaved population of Sparta. This ritual wasn't just about survival. It was about desensitizing young Spartans to violence and teaching them to kill without hesitation. The goal was to make them fear nothing and no one, not even the lives of the enslaved people who served them. Those who successfully completed the Krypteia returned as hardened warriors. But those who failed were erased from Spartan history. There was no place for weakness in the Spartan warrior class. And the Krypteia was one of the final steps in becoming a fully fledged member of Sparta's elite military force. Spartan society's disdain for weakness extended beyond the military and into every aspect of life. One of the most famous examples of this is the Spartan attitude toward the shield. For a Spartan warrior, his shield was not just a piece of military equipment. It was a symbol of his duty, honor, and commitment to his comrades. The phrase "either with your shield or on it" perfectly encapsulates this ideal. A Spartan soldier was expected to return with his shield, even if it meant dying in battle. If a soldier returned without his shield, he was seen as a disgrace. It was believed that a soldier who abandoned his shield had abandoned his comrades, leaving them vulnerable to attack. Soldiers who returned without their shields were often shunned and socially ostracized. The idea was that if a soldier could not carry his shield, he was not worthy of the Spartan title. This harsh view of weakness helped maintain a society where only the strongest and most resilient individuals could thrive. Marriage in Sparta was also radically different from other Greek city-states. It was not about love or personal choice, but about producing strong offspring who could serve the needs of the state. Spartans practiced polyandry, where women could marry multiple men, and the primary goal of these marriages was to produce healthy and capable children who could become warriors. The idea was to ensure that Sparta always had a steady supply of strong soldiers. This practice shocked other Greeks, who saw marriage as a deeply personal and romantic affair. But in Sparta, marriage was a social contract, one that prioritized the needs of the state over the desires of individuals. Spartan women were expected to be physically fit and strong, just like the men, so they could bear strong children who would grow up to fight in Sparta's wars. As harsh as it seems, Spartan society had its reasons for these extreme practices. The warrior culture of Sparta was built on the idea that only the strongest, most resilient individuals could protect the city-state. Weakness, whether physical or emotional, was seen as a liability, and those who didn't meet the rigorous standards of Spartan society were discarded. The rigorous training, harsh punishments, and societal expectations created a society that produced some of the fiercest warriors in history. But it also created a culture where compassion, empathy, and personal choice were sacrificed for the greater good of the state. The legacy of Sparta, though legendary, is a testament to the extremes a society will go to in its pursuit of military supremacy. Spartan society was ruthless and unforgiving, designed to produce warriors who could endure any hardship and fight for the glory of Sparta. While their military prowess is still admired today, the cost of that strength was immense. The sacrifices made by Spartans and the brutality of their practices left a mark on history, reminding us of the extremes that can occur when power, control, and survival are the highest priorities. If you found this exploration of Spartan life intriguing, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Stay tuned for more historical insights into the darkest and most fascinating parts of ancient civilizations.